Okay, are you still there, Carol?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Well, I'll just state for the record then that my name is Michelle Marino, and I am doing an oral history interview over the phone with Carol Meyer Roman, and today is Friday, July 13th. So the first question I just wanted to ask was, what is your birth date?
10/10/42.
Okay. And where were you born, and where did you grow up?
San Francisco.
Okay. And you grew up there? Okay. And when you were growing up, did you play any other sports prior to playing derby?
Other than, we were like probably before your time, but it was called the other gang, little rascal type things.
Uh-huh.
That's the way our neighborhood was.
Uh-huh.
Everybody played ball, football, baseball, and just go hang out.
Uh-huh. So just a lot of things in the streets with the other kids.
Yeah, we made coasters and drove down the streets with the coasters at that time.
Uh-huh.
When our skate wheels would go, we'd have the clamp skates, and then when the skates would get like old, we'd just take them apart and then put them on coasters and ride them around. I mean, we did hiking. I mean, actually, I had a great childhood.
Uh-huh.
Kids don't do that nowadays. They stand around and talk on the phone.
Yep. Or play video games. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Or play video games.
Yeah, they're not outside. They're not, except for, I know my grandkids are, because they get into everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it was a poor childhood, but we had a very happy childhood.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We did a lot of hiking and, yeah.
Okay. Would you say that your family belonged to what sort of social or economic class?
We were poor.
Okay.
we were poor. We lived in actually I lived a couple of neighborhoods, but I mean, the best neighborhood that we lived in was one block from the Cal Palace in San Francisco.
Okay.
So everybody, it was called the projects, but it wasn't like the projects you talk about now.
Mm-hmm.
It was different. I mean, everybody was outside playing, watering the lawns, hiking. We did everything. I mean, we had behind the cow palace, we'd go a little bit further up in the hill, and we had we call it the swamp, but we catch the frogs,
Oh, uh-huh.
and the toads and the pollywogs and stuff like that to us,
Okay.
Hang on, I got a cat that wants to come in.
Oh.
She scratches on the door like come on. Scratches on the door like a dog.
Oh, does she?
It's not our cat, actually, but she's been with me for about a year. So.
Oh, that's fun.
And she's a cat in the neighborhood that travels.
Yeah, from house to house.
Yeah, she finally made her home here.
Oh, cool. Well, then when you were in elementary and, middle school and then into high school, did you play any organized sports?
No. The only time they had organized sports that I can remember was sort of in high school. I was, what I did is I played in a band.
Okay.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only sports that we had, I mean, we played football. And we had a big grass area, so everybody played football, basketball. Mm-hmm. Not basketball, baseball.
Okay.
And we skated.
Okay.
We had, it was, when people talk about projects, it wasn't like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you don't drive through it now.
Right.
But we had, I was telling, if you remember the skater Joe Canterbury, he was over last night,
Uh-huh.
I think. And he was, I used to be his fan.
Oh, that's cool. Uh-huh.
And then, so we had skating was our thing.
Okay, so that was really popular activity in the neighborhood?
Well, that was about the cheapest thing that you can do. And then when the skates fell apart, you made coasters.
Okay.
And ride around on the coasters.
That's really neat. Okay.
Yeah, we did. We had our own little thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, how did you first learn of the roller derby then?
My grandmother used to look to watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And during the time of commercials, it wasn't commercial, but they would throw in this thing. And all I remember is it was called the Mad Whirl.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a skater knock over the water, and her jersey was torn off, and she was holding on to it and chasing skaters, and it was antebellum.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that's what I remember.
Uh-huh.
And then it was, I guess like 55 or 56, we saw it on the TV. It would come, I don't even know what channel it was on. Mm-hmm. All I know is my grandmother would watch it, and I would watch it. And my grandmother didn't speak English.
Oh, uh-huh.
So I used to hear her cussing in her language.
And what did she speak, or where was she from?
Spanish.
Oh, uh-huh.
Spanish. And she loved it. So between that and wrestling, that was the thing.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Okay.
But of course, it wasn't a girl thing. You know.
Uh-huh.
That was the thing. You know, it was. She liked the girls, but you know, a girl was supposed to be a girl. In other words, you know. So she was happy when I did get into it. Oh, she was really excited.
Uh-huh.
But she felt it was like not really the thing. You're supposed to, you know.
It was too
married and have kids.
Right. So it was different
than
her.
For other girls, but not her grandchild.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So did she see the women as being like too rough or just untraditional, or?
Well, she felt it wasn't. You know, I mean, she liked it when she sees it.
Right.
But she thought that it was okay for them, but not okay for her family.
I see.
You know. Mm-hmm. They get married and have kids and all that kind of stuff, you know. But she loved it. After I was in it, she really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And she would go when she could.
Uh-huh. Well, that's neat. Well, you said you saw that TV clip with Ann Cavello, but what made you interested in the sport? What appealed to you?
Because when they showed it, that was the first part they show you before you show the game.
Mm-hmm.
They'd always show that so you would know that the game was coming on. Mm-hmm. And they only showed, I can't even tell you if it was a full game, but I watched it, and it was just the, how would you put it? I liked the roughness. Mm-hmm. I was a tomboy, and I liked to play with the boys with sports. So with that, it was like up my alley.
Okay.
Because everything was, oh no, that's a boy thing. You can't play basketball. You can't play football because that's a boy thing. And the baseball. And then days they didn't have that where girls can get into it.
Okay.
You know, sports. The only thing that they had maybe was tennis, and that didn't really intrigue me at all. Mm-hmm. I like the roughness. I like the, you know, the hitting. I like the speed. I love the speed. I love the race.
Uh-huh. So definitely the fact that women were included really drew you in.
Yeah. That was the only sport that was women were included at the same level as the men. Mm-hmm. You know?
Right.
And I had a brother, so we were always competing against each other.
Okay.
Even when it came to skating. Uh-huh. So it was just, you know, so when that came, we still competed against. There was something else for us to compete against.
Right.
So, I like to, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like, it was excitement. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get nervous before a game like anybody else would, but it was just like, I loved it.
Yeah.
Then once you started skating, you know what? You don't hear nothing.
Right.
It was like, everything was a blank. You just went out and did what you had to do.
Sure.
You didn't, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It was just real.
Okay.
It really was. It was a turn on.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, how did your parents feel about your joining the roller derby?
Well, they loved it. Mm-hmm. Very supportive. I didn't have a father in my life. He was already dead. Mm-hmm. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, he was passed on. Mm-hmm. So he didn't have my father. Mm-hmm. I had my whole family. Mm-hmm. And they knew that if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be me. Uh-huh. Because I was the one I was very independent. I wanted to do something, I did it.
Right.
Like I said, the only one who was against it was my grandmother, because she didn't mind other women, but not her granddaughter.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Got it. It was a girl thing. I said, okay.
Okay. Well, how old were you when you joined, and what made you, get into it?
Okay. Because I like the speed, I like the roughness, and it was completely different. I loved anything in sports. Mm-hmm. I like the football, I like the baseball. More football than baseball. Mm-hmm. I like to play baseball, but I love to play football. Mm-hmm. I like to watch football.
Me too.
And I watch baseball at times.
Yeah.
But it was more competitive, where you can do the same thing as the boy.
Right.
And I'd watch it, and then I would say, I know what I would do if I was up there. But you really have to think fast. When you're sitting back watching it, I would have done this, I would have done that. When you're in it, at the moment you just do. All of a sudden, they'll just come to you, and you just do it.
Right.
And then sometimes it was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But it was the excitement.
Okay. And so
it wasn't even traveling because I couldn't travel. I was still in high school.
Oh, okay. So you joined when you were in high school then?
I was in high school. I was 16. And actually, I was working. I'd sell fireworks during the summertime. And they came and got me, and I was really, really excited.
Oh, I bet.
But then when I walked in the dressing room and I saw when you're close up, you see him. And I remember one skater, it was Tuffy. She just looked at me coming in and just laughed. And I was going, oh my God, what am I in for? I just went back to the corner, It was something. And actually, I was there basically to fill in because they needed 7 skaters out there. So I wasn't allowed on the track unless they really needed me.
Okay.
And it really bothered me because we had games before the games. We had our little at training school, and our training school that I was in at that time was really, really good. Most of the skaters were picked up. Where sometimes they're just kind of just there for a while, and maybe 1 or 2. But we had about 5 or 6 of them that were picked up that year.
Oh wow, that is a high number.
Yeah, but most of those skaters were good skaters, and they were around for a while.
Okay.
And I felt that we had one of the better training schools at that time. And then
who ran that training school?
Pardon me?
Who were the trainers at the school?
It was Buddy Atkinson Sr.
Okay.
And a couple other skaters that would help out.
Yeah.
And we actually trained with some of the professionals at that time that they had, because they would have, it was like, the kids nowadays, they couldn't do it because we had like an hour case, and that means you stayed in that hour.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that.
They made sure that you were in it for the hour, and then you had a breakaway, and it built up your,
endurance.
Yeah, and you learn how to breathe because when you get excited, if anybody chases you, you run and you lose your breath,
Right, yeah.
because you're not used to it. But there was a lot of conditioning, and I always was the kids nowadays. Well, there's no training school, so it's hard for them to really train like we did.
Right.
And we had a lot of skaters that came out during that time.
Now, was your training school in San Francisco, or was it in like San Diego, or?
No, it was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And it was in Oakland.
Okay, got it.
And what I'm saying, training school, when they skated the Armory in San Francisco, they had the training there. When they skated the Oakland Auditorium, they had training there. And they skated the Oakland Expedition Building, we had training there.
Okay.
And that's where they skated. As far as the training school, yeah, there was a training school that set up, which I can't remember the year it set up, and it was a full-time training school.
Okay.
And we turned out a lot of skaters.
Okay.
When they have a set training place where people can go all the time, it makes it much better.
Yeah. And so, let me just get this straight. Were you at the set one, or were you at a temporary one when they were skating in San Francisco?
Temporary when they were there skating.
Okay, got it. And then did you hear about that on TV, or how did you know to go down there?
I went to the game.
Oh, okay.
And then they were saying how they were holding training school when the Bombers were in San Francisco, and they gave the dates, so eventually I went. And also they also had one at the fairgrounds in San Mateo.
Oh, okay.
And but Oakland was actually my first one that I went to. It was in Oakland, and they were skating there like 3 nights out of the week, so the track stayed up. And then that's when they had the training school, because the track was set up.
Okay, I see. And how long did you train before you got sort of picked up?
5.5, 6 weeks.
Okay. And then what year was that?
59.
59. Okay. Well, once you started skating, how would you describe the relationships between the skaters?
On the team with you, the same team as you?
Yeah, yeah, same team.
Well, coming in as a new kid, going to the corner of the room, I just didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody. There was Anna Jensen was really nice and friendly. Judy Swinsky was a new kid. As I say, new kid. She started 6 weeks before I did.
Okay.
And she kind of took me under her wing, don't be nervous, don't worry, because all I knew is that I was there filling a uniform.
Right.
And actually, they were only going to have me skate unless somebody got hurt. And then they didn't just throw you out in the game. You were to sit on the bench and watch. And handed helmets. At that time, they had helmets. At that time, when I first watched it, they didn't have helmets, but at that time, they started having helmets.
Okay.
And if I was to watch for, somebody, they call it they had skate problems or they got hurt or whatever, that's it. But other than that, the first week and a half, 2 weeks, I skated 2 minutes of the game. Yeah, everybody else goes, that's all. They told you to watch.
Yeah.
And take everything in.
Right. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's not you go right out there and skate, and I really wanted to go right out there and skate. But no, you did your skating and your warm-up, and you had to do your warm-ups. You had to do a pace as you were in there before you even stopped and signed autographs. They wanted you. And me as a new kid, I was I really don't want to do that. I want to go out and skate.
Yeah, of course.
But, it's you're a team, and you do what they tell you to do, and that's what you do. It took, I guess it took maybe about 3 or 4 weeks when they realized that I can do more than just warm up and hand out helmets,
And what team did you get picked up onto?
San Francisco.
Okay, so that was the Bay Bombers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned, Anna Jensen was really nice, and Judy Sawinski took you under her wing. But did you have someone you considered to be a mentor on your team?
On my team? Actually, I would say I had, as far as a mentor, it wasn't just on my team. I would say it was a person here and a person there.
Yeah.
Buddy Atkinson, Senior, he was out there to help us kids when we were training.
Sure.
There was a skater called Bill Lorino. He was there. It's there was certain people there. Bobby Seaver.
Okay.
I would say he was more of a mentor. He was picked up also, but he was picked up before I was. But he was, that's the one that I remember the most.
Okay.
Sitting on the rail going, come on.
Yeah.
And he was really sort of a mentor as far as I could say, because he was on the track, And then Judy wasn't training, but I saw her, met her at the game, and she helped me out too. As far as you just didn't know where you fit in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they always afraid, even as far as sitting on the bench, it's okay if I sit here, so seat belongs to somebody else. I really didn't know.
Well, what did it mean? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say Bobby Severs. I remember him. And another one was, believe it or not, was Drew Scott.
Okay.
And which is Buddy Junior's wife.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what did it mean to you to be a roller derby skater?
What did it mean to me? It was actually meant it was my dream come true. That's what it meant. It was something that I wanted to do. And I was just... Actually, I couldn't believe it You know, sometimes I had to pinch myself because my girlfriend was the one that really wanted to do it, and she backed out.
Oh.
So I went ahead. And it was just something, it was like a dream come true. You know, you watch it on TV, you say, that's what I want to do. And how many people say, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that. I was able to do it. And then some.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah, it really was amazing. And now that I'm older, and and my kids every now and then they'll ask me, my son especially, I wouldn't have traded places with anybody to do what I did. I was able to travel, and it wasn't actually a job. It was, I know it's my favorite pastime, or whatever you want to call it.
Right, so it was more than a job. It was more than a career. Yeah,
it never, ever became a job. Even though you got paid for it and everything, it was enjoyment. I loved to skate. I loved it from the time I was a little kid. And then grew up. Before the Mad World and everything like that.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, it was skate. And that, you know, it was, you know, how much, something that you love and you get paid for it.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't the money. It was just the enjoyment. I'd love to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, did you identify yourself then, I mean, as an athlete, an entertainer, some combination of both? What did you, how would you characterize?
I would think I was an athlete.
You did or did not?
I did.
Okay.
I consider myself professional athlete.
Okay.
But it was entertaining. Sometimes, you know, we laugh and goof off. But nobody knows. Everybody thinks it's easy to just go out there and skate. When you skate on the street, it's entirely different than when you skate on the track.
Oh, absolutely.
You use different muscles and everything. You think, oh, I could do this. But it's not the same.
Right.
And as a lot of girls found out, like those flat track skaters that they have out, they go out there and they skate on the floor and everything. Well, I met more than one, but they finally skated on the track. They could not believe the difference. There's a big difference.
Yeah, and I know the bank track has a lot more give and stuff too.
More give, but you can go a lot faster.
Oh, I'm sure.
On that.
Yeah. Okay.
You can go a lot faster.
Okay. Well, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but how and when did you meet your husband?
I met him in 1960.
1960. So you hadn't been skating very long.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, you said 1960?
I'm trying to remember if it was 60 or 61.
Okay, so you had only been skating a short time.
Right, and that how I met him is he had come up to a trainer, and I guess he had come in from New York, and he was going to be skating. And he introduced himself to this guy because he was going to take him, and he was going to stay at his place while he was here until he had a roommate.
Okay.
Because that's the only reason. And the only reason why I know is because I happened to be staying in there, and the trainer, his name was George Kadunas, introduced me to him. And I had heard the name, but I didn't have a face to it.
Right. So he had skated with he was skating with another team.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, actually, he was in the training school for 5 or 6 weeks, and they said, "Do you want to go to San Francisco skate with the Red Devils?" He said, "Yeah." He left his job and everything.
Oh, wow.
And his mother was furious.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So did he join the roller derby before you did or after you did?
No, after I did.
Okay, but he was...
I think it was 1960, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I keep trying to remember. I think it was 1960 because I think in 61 he went to Hawaii. Okay. I'm not sure, but in 1960, 61, you know...
Yeah.
I'm lucky I remember what day I was born.
Yeah. So you met him then in the early 1960s, and then did you date for a while, or did you get married right away, or?
No. I thought it was cute and that kind of, regular stuff. But he was already engaged to somebody else.
Oh, okay. Was it another roller derby person, or?
Yeah. He was engaged to Barbara O'Leary.
Okay.
so, you know, it was like, which like I said, I didn't even know him, and I didn't even really know Barbara O'Leary either. And I met her, but then you like anything else, you hear all the gossip.
Sure.
They could be in Hawaii, and you'll know what's happened over there.
Yeah.
Because it comes back.
Of course.
Yeah. So, we actually didn't start, we started dating a couple of times. We not really dating, we're on the road in T2. And it was just like a bunch of us. We'd go out.
Sure.
Tony, when he saw me dance, well, he knew the same dance. I knew the same dance as him. And so whenever we had the one, what the heck do you call it? The East Coast. It's a swing type dance. So I knew the same dance only because I watched American Bandstand, and I learned it from there. And of course, they watched it back east, so I kind of knew that dance, and so we'd always dance with that. So we'd laugh about it later on. But we'd go and go out dancing, but not as a pair, but as a group. You know, and then, but he would be going here this way or that way. The only time we really got together, as far as we had to travel in '62 from California to Florida, and then back from Florida. We had a tour down there. So we were, I drove and he drove, and we had like 3 people in the car, and we went caravan and followed another buddy and Drew Atkinson, and we went that way and then came back. That was sort of like a first road trip, you might as well say, because we're on the road.
Right. So you spent a lot of time together then?
Off and on. Hang on. I hear my phone going on.
Okay.
It's my alarm. Yes and no. I at that time, because we were in the car a lot. We'd get in, we'd have to drive and go on and move. And we kind of stayed in the South Florida, Alabama, you know, those southern states, because we'd skate and we'd go from place to place.
Right.
And we did. And we laughed and had a good time. Really enjoyed our company, each other. But I also knew that he was seeing still Barbara O'Leary.
Oh.
And it was sort of like an off and on thing. And it wasn't something that, I mean, I liked him, but I didn't know as far as a boyfriend.
Right.
You know? It wasn't until about, I'd say 64, when I realized, I really like him.
Okay. And then when did you get married, or how did that sort of develop with skating and everything?
Well, when we asked to get married, I hit him. I thought he was joking. And he goes, "What are you punching me for?" I said, "Get out of here." But we got married in 65. And we got engaged in 65.
Okay.
And the funny thing is in January of 65, and he had skated, well, actually, to go back a year, in 64 he came on the Bombers.
Okay.
Prior to him coming on the Bombers, Charlie asked me, "Are you in," they called him Anthony, "Are you guys seeing each other? Are you guys getting married?" And we go, "No." And we said, "We're just going out." And we did. We went out with a bunch of people, you know. It was just a thing. And I corresponded with him, where I called him every now and then. And he lived in Inglewood at that time with his parents down there. And I had a car down up here. He didn't have the car.
Now, are you talking about Tony or Charlie?
Tony.
Okay.
So Charlie, because he skated, and that's when Charlie asked us, "Are you guys getting married?" We go, "No," because he skated on the Bombers, and we said no. And then his mother and father noticed that I used to come drive down there every now and then and pick him up and bring him up here, and he'd stay at the Chump's house over here in San Leandro. If you remember Jerry Abatello and Joe Chump. So he would stay up there. Well, then Charlie had asked, "Are you guys getting together?" And we go, "No, we just like to go hang out and dance a lot." Yeah. And then because he wanted Tony on the team.
Right.
So, and he wanted, I said, well, because I say no, does that mean he doesn't come on the team?
Yeah.
I didn't know what he meant by that.
Right.
So anyway, he did get him on the team, and but we weren't our skating partners, so we laughed about that. He knew we were going out, but they didn't make this the same number until the following year.
Okay.
And we went to my cousin's wedding, and I got the bouquet, and he looked at me and goes, "Don't get any bright ideas," that kind of stuff. So it was like, okay, but 9 months later, we were married.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to go on the road as husband and wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and it was like, he asked me to marry him in the end of August, the last week or something, and then we were leaving in 25 days, 26 days, something like that. So he wanted to go on the road as man and wife. And that's what we did.
Wow, so it was a pretty short engagement.
It was engaged, get a wedding, church wedding, and all the goodies with it.
Wow.
And we did it.
Wow.
We did it in, I think, 5.5, 6 weeks.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. We had the movies and it was beautiful. Everybody talked about it. They said it was the best wedding.
Oh.
People were dancing on the tables and everything. So Bella was sitting in a white dress in this big chair and said, in case you didn't show up, she was taking my place. I mean, everybody to this day that had been there at the wedding will still talk about it. It was the wedding. We skated our game on the Saturday, and we got married that Sunday.
Oh, wow, that's neat.
And like I said, we had a big church wedding, and nobody wanted to leave the reception.
Yeah, I bet. Sounds like
but
it.
like I said, to this day, everybody that was there will still talk about it. It was really a good wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, we have movies of it, and I have Joni in it, and Covello in it, Buddy Atkinson Sr., his wife Bobby, and people that were on the stage after the band, not the band, they take a rest. We had skaters that got up there and played drums and sang. My family were just, they were thrilled. They couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody. Yeah. Including the kids that were running around crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great wedding.
That sounds like it. So
I'm glad we have tapes of it too.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how would you say marriage influenced you or other women in terms of their derby career?
As far as what?
I mean, once you got married, did that change anything in terms of your skating, or since you and Tony were on the same team, were there any problems?
Sometimes we get into a little tussle about certain things. You know, they don't let her do that to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's something. You know, and I wasn't really. I was on the. If you knew me before I skated, I hardly opened my mouth. So I was kind of on the quiet side. As far as skating, as far as in school and things like that. The only time I was out is when I was skating or playing, baseball, sports. Then I would come alive in the woods. If I was at school, I was the one that would sit in the back of the class and not raise their hand. So I was the complete opposite.
Okay.
The complete opposite. Except at home, my mother said I never kept my mouth shut.
Right. So once you and Tony were married and you went on the road, were you able to stay in like hotel rooms together, or did you have to be separated like with the men's team and the women's team, or were you able to travel?
No, married couples stay together.
Okay.
Married couples definitely say no. Okay. No. One time I think they used to have dormitories years ago.
Yeah. Okay, but by your time, everybody could stay with whoever.
No, married couples stayed in their rooms. Yeah.
Okay, and then was marriage encouraged by management, by Leo Seltzer, Jerry? Was that okay with everyone?
No, marriage wasn't encouraged at all. The only time is they asked us if we were getting married. We go, no. And that was about 6 weeks before we got married.
Right.
At the time, I didn't know I was getting married.
Right.
Because I think myself, we talked about it later. I said, they kept asking us to go get married. I think they wanted to do something like get married on the track or something like that.
Oh,
and that's not what we wanted.
Right.
No. So we kept quiet after we said, well, they knew we were engaged, and they said, when are you guys getting married? When are you getting married? Well, we kind of kept that a secret till like 3 weeks before.
Right.
Because we didn't want it to be something like, oh, married out here in the track.
Right, not a publicity thing, right.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was something special to us.
Okay. But in general, you would say that they didn't encourage marriage, or they were okay with it? Between skaters?
No, they didn't discourage it.
Okay.
And they didn't encourage it. The only time that they did, I heard of this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
A couple, they did it as a publicity thing.
Oh, okay.
They were partners, and they made a big thing about them getting married, and they did it out in the track.
Okay.
They did do it. They said it was only a publicity thing, and they hated each other.
Oh.
They couldn't stand each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, but you can get it annulled, right after it and everything. But they did. And the only reason why I knew this is because we met the people driving from here to Florida.
Uh-huh.
On the way back, we stopped there. And, Buddy and Drew stopped, and they told us to come follow them and meet them. Mm-hmm. And they stayed married.
Oh, wow.
They stayed married the whole life, and they ended up loving each other.
Oh, wow.
And we stopped there, and it was in Texas, between Fort Worth and I can't think of Dallas. Mm-hmm. It was in between there and the Turnpike, and she was wonderful, and they talked about, and they had pictures galore. They're both passed on now, but oh boy, do I wish I had gone back to see them. Mm-hmm. They had stories that was unbelievable, the things that they did, but they hated each other. Each other.
What were their names? Do you remember?
It was Teddy and Joe Evans.
Okay.
I do not know her maiden name. I only met them as Teddy and Joe Evans.
Uh-huh. I've heard the name Joe Evans. That's interesting.
Yeah. And she passed away, and she was the best cook. Oh, God, it was wonderful. Wonderful people. I just could not believe it. They had pictures that Buddy and Drew were there, and they had pictures of their parents before and everything. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And they showed where they traveled, and they went to Europe, and they did all kinds of things. And they showed the publicity part about them getting married and the track and everything. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievable. I really, really loved it.
That's really neat. That's neat.
Well, it really was.
Uh-huh. Well, were you aware of what might happen to your skating career if you became pregnant?
Was I aware of what?
Were you aware of what might happen to your skating career if you became pregnant, like in terms of pay or eligibility?
No.
So it wasn't...
Because there was other people that had babies and continued skating.
Okay. Who were some of the other people before you that had their kids around?
Well, it was Buddy and Drew's parents. Mm-hmm. Jerry Murray with Mike. Mike and Judy with their children. Mm-hmm. And then there was Charlie with his kids.
Okay. Mike and Judy, how many kids did they have?
Just one.
Just one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how many? I didn't know that Charlie had kids.
He has two kids. He has Charlie Jr., which every now and then my son talks to him. He's a spitting image of Charlie.
Oh, really?
I don't know if he's as tall. Mark doesn't know. But there's a lot of resemblance of Charlie. And Christy. Christy is actually, I think Christy is the oldest.
Oh, okay. The girl. And then, so now, are those kids with Vicky, his wife?
No. His first wife was Wilma.
Wilma, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then, so, now you said that you had children when you were skating as well?
Well, we had one. We had Dina, which was my oldest.
Okay.
First.
In what year was that?
She was born in 1966. Of November.
Okay. So how did you, juggle being a mother and continue skating?
Well, when she was born in November, there was no skating then.
Okay.
It was during the winter months. So we usually didn't skate. When we went on the road, we usually came back by Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So, I was pregnant in I got pregnant in right away, 1965, I guess, maybe around January or so.
Okay.
Dina was born early. She was due in December, so she was born early. And so the following year, which the season started in March, I was ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, so that worked out well, timing-wise.
It worked out perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the only thing we had to worry about is when it came time for us to travel.
Uh-huh.
And what we did is, because she was still, a toddler, we left her with my mother-in-law.
Okay. So how long would you be gone at a time?
Well, in the winter months, we usually got back. We left like in September, and we usually came back before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving.
Okay, so like a month or two.
Yeah, we were back early, and then we would leave again for maybe a short time and be back here in the Bay Area when they opened up around March.
Okay.
Because we looked at the March of Dime games.
Okay. So how did that work with, so you would keep...
Well, at that time, with her being that little, we didn't want to take her on the road because she was an infant. It's
right.
too hard. So we didn't take her. We didn't actually take her until she was a little bit older and potty trained.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And we took her. We took her where we didn't have that much traveling as far as going. Like when we traveled, we'd stay in the Northeast area, like say up in Portland, a little bit, and then we'd send her back home. Or if we had her when we were down south in Texas, so you kind of stayed in a little area. So you had like a little home base, and you travel out and come back and forth, so it was easier. And then when we went to New York area, well, he had family in New York, so we didn't have to worry too much about her. And then, so she'd stay there with his cousins, actually. And if we had to go upstate or something, and then, we had her close by.
Sure.
But when we came here to California, naturally, his mom lived up. She moved up from LA and lived over here, so she was like across the street from us.
Oh, okay.
So it was easy.
Yeah, that must have been nice.
Yeah, it was easy. And when we went to the Northwest, she went with us up there. She was traveling with us until she was about 4 years old.
Okay.
And when she started school, that's when she had to kind of stay here. It was only, and in the summer times we were here.
Okay, so that was nice.
Yeah, so it was nice. And when she traveled there, like Judy had her little children, her little daughter, and sometimes, depending on what teams we're in, the Scopuses, they had their 2 kids too.
Okay.
So the kids would run around on the track and have a little fun with each other.
So Dina kind of grew up around with the other roller derby kids.
Yeah, and now she's still friends with little Charlie. They didn't travel. Those kids didn't travel because the wife stayed at home all the time. She wasn't a skater, naturally.
Okay.
So she was a homebody. So those kids, but to this day, she still sees Charlie Jr. And he'll come around every now and then. In fact, Mark has seen him a few times too.
Okay. And did your daughter skate much when she was little?
Yeah, on the street. She did skate on the track when she was, I'd say she was about 5 or 6. We got her skates. She wasn't that interested in it, I should say. It wasn't until she got a little bit older that she was interested.
Did she ever do any of those diaper derbies that they used to hold? Do you remember?
No, they didn't have any.
Okay, by your time.
She had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that you really skated, or how long did you skate before you gave birth?
I trained for about 6 weeks.
Okay, so you found out you were pregnant, and then you continued skating for about 6 weeks.
Oh, pregnant. I thought you said pro. Okay. During the time that we got married, Tony got his draft notice.
Oh, okay.
So he went in the Army.
Oh, okay. For Vietnam?
Yeah, I think the Vietnam War was on, but he he went in the Army, and he ended up getting sent to Fort Bliss. He was in Fort Ord. And during that time, well, it wasn't during that time, but from there, he went to Fort Bliss, Texas.
Okay.
Which is, I think, was El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
I drove down there, and I was there with him.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, Tony had a lot of problems with his back, and his back would go out.
Oh.
And they did a thing on him, and a test on him, and they put him on they said, during that time, everybody was trying to avoid going into the service,
Mm-hmm.
and they thought he was, how would you say, faking it.
Uh-huh.
But he had doctor's reports because his back would go out, and he'd be flat on his back, and he had missed skate a few times, and his back would hurt him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally, after 5.5 months, and they took x-rays and did all this stuff, and they said it looked like he had an extra vertebrae in his back, was because the extra vertebrae made his back very weak.
Mm-hmm.
And there was times in '64, before we got married, there was a part there that he couldn't, '65, he couldn't skate for I don't know how many weeks because of his back injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, in the service it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it happened a couple of more times. And then off and on, his back would hurt him. And what had happened after all these years, at that time that they did x-rays, and all they could see was he had an extra long back. Mm-hmm. They said, for some reason, you got an extra vertebrae. Mm-hmm. But we found out at the time that he developed cancer, and they did an MRI on him, because they didn't do MRIs on him before. Mm-hmm. And the doctor had seen him years before that and sent him to therapy. He said, you know what? They got the MRI. We're going to do an MRI on you. So when they did the MRI, they found the shadow wasn't an extra vertebrae. It actually was a tumor.
Oh, no.
And that's what was causing. So he had that tumor for about 20 years.
Wow. And
he did, he tried everything. Some days it was better and some days it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And then where it got, he called me and he says, I can't walk. And I said, what do you mean you can't walk? He says, my back is hurting me so bad, I can't walk. And that's when they did an MRI and they found the tumor.
Were they able to remove it, or?
No, that's what he died from. The cancer went right through into his everything.
Yeah.
It was he found out in September, and he was gone December 24th.
Oh, my goodness. That's terrible.
And they tried chemo, and it just got bigger.
Mm-hmm. Ugh.
So, and being it was the off-season, some people, there was hardly anybody I could get a hold of.
Mm-hmm.
But word of mouth, when we had the funeral,
mm-hmm.
it was beautiful because there were so many skaters that showed up at the church. It was filled with people because it was in the paper and everything like that.
Right.
So everybody, I couldn't believe the people that came.
Oh, that's great.
I really couldn't, because you cannot. It was like within weeks. Mm-hmm. He developed it, and from the time they found out, and then they tried the chemotherapy, and he had one session of chemotherapy, and 3 weeks later he was gone. So it was
very quick turnaround.
Very quick, and it was a blessing. Mm-hmm. He wasn't suffering no more.
Right. So was that in the 80s, you said?
1988.
Okay.
December 24th, 1988.
Yeah, that's sad. That's terrible. Well, it's sad that they couldn't have caught that back when he first got the MRIs.
Yeah. But see, they never did an MRI.
Oh, yeah, they just thought the X-ray.
Yeah, he was on the road and his back went out, and he got kicked in the back. Actually, got kicked by Gammon, and it was. They said he couldn't even walk. They sent him home, and they did therapy on him and the X-ray and everything, and they didn't break anything. So that's basically what they. What happened.
Right. Well,
so,
yeah.
it was hard.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know what it is? You got 4 children sitting here Christmas mornings.
Oh, yeah.
But the skating family, they were here.
Yeah, that's great that you said that so many showed up for you in such a short notice, too.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
Well, in fact, we just talked about it just a few days, Joe Canterbury, in fact, because he lived in Fresno. And I had to get a hold of him to tell him. And he was talking about it. He said, what made you? I called the police department down there in Fresno because I didn't have his address or phone number. I said, and they found him and got in touch with him.
Wow.
And that's how they found out. And he said, I said, I don't know. I said, I'm going to call the police department. Maybe they can find you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have their number or anything.
Right.
And him and his wife and the kids came up.
And who was that again? I'm sorry. Who did you say you found?
Joe Canterbury.
Oh, Canterbury.
His wife.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you also said you had Dina in.
Pardon me?
You had Dina in '66, and then you had 3 other kids.
Yeah, in '66, I had Dina, and then we decided we weren't going to have any for a while because if we had another one, it was going to be really hard to travel with it.
Absolutely.
But but then when we had, I forgot what had happened. I don't know if we stopped skating, but in 1974, I had. Oh, I know what happened. Tony was also in the service, like I said, and then I ended up getting pregnant, and I had Dina, and then in 1974 we had Renee.
Okay.
And then I think it was 6 months later. Let me see. Renee was born in May, and then the twins were born in March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they didn't know I was having twins until after I delivered the boy.
Oh.
And I was 3 months early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my babies were 3 months. They were just 1 pound, 7 ounces, and 1 pound, 1 pound, 14 ounces, like
Wow.
7 ounces. So they were in the hospital for quite a while.
Oh, I bet.
3 months.
Yeah.
So when they came home, they were like 4 pounds, and they still looked like they were too small.
Yeah, really tiny, I bet.
Yeah, really tiny.
Well, when you had Dina, or even the other ones, I've heard some of the other skaters say that they felt like they were in pretty good physical shape from skating, that their pregnancies were pretty smooth, or they had an easy delivery. What were your experiences with that?
Oh, Dina was so small. I mean, I was back skating really quick.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like you were out of shape.
Right.
And everything came back. Dina was only 5.5 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Actually, my second baby was 6 pounds. They were small.
Yeah.
So I was out and running all the time. In other words, not running. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Up and out.
Right. It was an
Dina,
easier
I was
recovery.
skating. She was 6 weeks old, and I was out already skating.
Wow. So you were able to get right back into shape very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you really weren't out of shape. Well, I couldn't skate, but I did a lot of walking and stuff like that. But you use different muscles for skating. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know. You know, the only time actually that I really felt it is when I got injured, and then trying to come back.
So that was a harder recovery for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because the injuries you have usually were in your legs, and that's what you needed.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
And, but skaters are, I don't know how to explain it. Like, okay, I tore my Achilles tendon.
Ooh.
I was out 6 weeks. And I came back skating, and it was a little sore. It was more sore after skating.
Oh, okay.
But you ice down, and you just go right back up there again. And you just didn't, I don't know if it's the adrenaline or what, but you kind of didn't even, your hurts and pains didn't bother you out there. But when you're off and relaxed, then you felt it.
Right, right. So you could skate through it, but it was more when you're relaxing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, changing gears a little bit, you said you became interested in roller derby because, it was it was a sport where both men and women were able to compete, on a similar level. But did you feel that there was an emphasis on how a woman skater looked or dressed or acted?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And
no.
Okay, and were there any codes of conduct for the players when you were skating? Or rules that you had to follow?
The skating rules that they had. The only rule outside of skating was how you presented yourself and meant how you dressed and acted before and after the game.
Okay, and what were those rules, or what did that entail?
No, it wasn't like anything written down. It was like, in other words, you're representing your roller derby. Don't go act like a fool out there. Not out there, but
yeah.
We all went out and had a good time. Charlie had a place, and don't get stupid.
Right.
Where it's going to cause somebody to come and say, hey, look, I saw them at this and this and this. I never saw anybody, how would you say, I never saw anybody act really bad that I can remember at all. So there's a few fights, but everybody trying to make sure that nobody really, don't let it get out of hand.
Right. So it was more like you're just representing the sport, you're representing your job.
And they know. Yeah, nobody really. I don't remember, at least when I was around, or Tony. It's not like, actually, we went out a lot more when we were not married than after we were married.
Sure.
And not because of Dina. It's just like, you kind of, when you start out young and you start doing all these things, after you get to it as one age, you go, I really don't want to go do that anymore.
Right.
The only thing that we like to do is get together with some friends and play cards or sit around and drink or laugh, go out dancing,
Sure.
on our off schedule. When we're on the road, that was the time to go to your favorite places that you remember before you were single.
Right.
Before when you were single.
Right.
And you used to go dancing. Like in Fort Worth, we had a place. In St. Louis, it was called Gaslight something. And had all the lights like Gaslight.
Oh,
And it was, everybody would head to this one club called Peppermint Lounge. And that's when the twist was in. It mirrors on the wall. We love going in. It seems like every place we went, we had a special place we wanted to go to.
Sure.
We were able to do so much traveling and be able to go to all these places.
Do you think...
My children...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
My kids would never have that chance.
Well, and do you think that roller derby provided you with opportunities you wouldn't have had otherwise?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I wouldn't have been to... Let me see. We went through all the United States and Canada. And Mexico. Other skaters went to Australia and England over that way and skated years ago. In France, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. But me, I don't like to fly, so.
Yeah.
But, I went to Mexico. And I enjoyed that. I didn't want to go to South America. They went to South America one time, and I didn't want to go. We didn't go. And but there was my skating career. I went through every state.
Wow.
Every state, whether I drove through it or skated in it. Went through every state, including all across Canada, up way past Quebec. In fact, they spoke nothing but French.
Wow.
And I have to tell you something funny. We stopped and we couldn't believe how much snow we had to drive on. And we always said, thank God Dina's not with us. But we drove into this restaurant and the snow was piled up. We could barely see the entrance. And that was where the motel was and had the restaurant in the front. And we sat down to order. And Tony said, what are you going to have? I said, I think I'm going to have the number 2. I forgot what number it was, but I'm just using that as an example. And he goes, really? And I goes, yeah. He goes, what is it? I said, 2 eggs over me, 2 eggs toast and this and that. He goes, oh. He goes, well, what's the number 3? And I told him, and he goes, oh. And they looked at me. He said, didn't know you knew how to read French. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not reading French. I got it in English.
Oh.
I had an English menu. So here, the whole time he thought I was...
Oh. He thought you were, bilingual. Yeah.
We laughed so much about that. And I go, I don't know any French.
Yeah.
But he had a French menu, and we laughed about that so many times. He thought I was really smart.
Yeah, you should have went with that. That's really funny.
Yeah. So, but we traveled way up there, and I've never seen snow where the billboard sticks out of the ground maybe about a foot.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's the billboard.
Yeah.
It was a really wet, a really heavy winter.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing we always thought about during that time that we traveled, we had Dina, and she was home safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a lot of scary things with the road and the ice and everything.
Sure. Kind of dangerous.
And we said, oh, thank God she's not with us.
Right.
And when we got to a place that, well, she was little, we didn't fly her in. But when she was older, and we flew her in until she went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually somebody brought her that was coming out would bring her.
Okay. So like another skater would give her a ride?
Or a husband or a wife that was coming to meet one of the others, or somebody that skated that maybe coming in, and she would go. That's usually what we did.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't want her flying alone.
Sure, that'd be kind of scary, being that young and all. Well, you're saying you had so many opportunities and you got to travel. I mean, before you joined the roller derby, I know you were still in high school, but did you think about what you might want to do? Did you have any plans before you joined the roller derby?
No, I didn't have any plans. I was just going to get a job.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I worked part-time from the time I was 15 and a half, I think. I worked for, it was like a Woolworths, but it was called S.H. Press Company.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And it's like a five and dime store. That's what they used to call it back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also, on the 4th, I always sold fireworks.
Okay.
And that's what I usually did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any plans of skating.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was working at the fireworks stand when, at that time, it was Kenny Kunzelman. He ended up being an announcer for us.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I look up and he's there.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I want to tell you, and he took me aside and told me. I said, you're kidding me. And I told my boss, I gotta leave. And I told him why. He said, go.
Yeah.
And it was July 3rd.
Wow.
And I went home to tell my mom, and I didn't know that my mom was on her way to Reno. So it was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anybody to tell, actually. So it was, I don't know, I walked in the dressing room, and I looked at everybody, and I saw, like I said, I saw Tessie, and she looked at me, and she kind of laughed like, ho, look at this, it comes out.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, boy, I just went straight to the back. I didn't know what the heck to do. I didn't know,
Yeah.
That was the worst feeling that I ever had.
Oh, I bet. Well, how did you...
Nobody I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and I laughed like, oh, boy, we're going to have fun with this one here.
Oh,
I don't know what... I just went to my little corner over there. I didn't know, and Ennis came and gave me a jersey, and I remember Sawinski come over and said, here's a couple of helmets for you to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything. The only good thing about it is we had skated there the minor leagues so often, like every week.
Mm-hmm.
At least the people knew who I was.
Right.
But they didn't know.
Right, the
They didn't
skaters.
know, and all I was doing was handing helmets. They needed somebody to fill a uniform in case somebody got hurt.
Right.
And I happened to be the one. It was my time.
Mm-hmm.
It was my time.
And so were you able to finish school when you did that, or did you quit school?
Yeah, that was my last year of school.
Oh, okay.
I was 59.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had one more year. That was my last year. I get out in 60.
Okay.
So I couldn't travel with it. And if you ask me, I wish I could have.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lorraine DeVries, she went, and this other girl, Carol Paulson, and they were friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And because we all were together, and they had so much fun. They went to New York. I wanted to go so bad. My mother said, nope.
Mm-hmm.
I finished school, so I had to wait one more year.
Yeah, so then you were able to go.
So I didn't think I was going to skate the following year either.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why and actually Jerry Seltzer was looking for me, but nobody had my phone number.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I didn't think nothing of it. You know, I figured, okay, when the training school opens up, I will go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just went to, our sponsor was Gateway Chevrolet. And I saw a car there that I really, really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle went with me and everything, and that's how they found me.
Wow.
But they didn't know how to get a hold of me. My mother, we had our phone enlisted. I guess they lost the phone number. I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones, you know that.
Sure. So they found you through the Gateway Chevrolet?
Huh?
So they found you through the Chevrolet?
Yeah, our sponsor.
That's neat.
And he happened to mention, called Jerry Silver, and guess who came in today and bought a car?
Wow.
And they goes, oh my God, you have a phone number? And they called me and they said, would you like to skate again? And I go, yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
It was much better for me that year because I was already experienced.
Sure.
I was actually doing more than just sitting on a bench.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, and skating in a warm-up or something. It was when I really, really started.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was your relationship like with Jerry? How did you view him as a manager? Uh-huh.
You know what? I adored him.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I love the man.
Mm-hmm.
I adore that man. From the very beginning, it was always fair to me.
Uh-huh.
And my husband, I mean, we had issues like everybody else.
Sure.
But Jerry, he was always there for me anyway, before I was married to him. Mm-hmm. And even afterwards, and to this day.
Okay. That's great.
I really loved the man.
Yeah.
He was really, I helped him, I think it was 61 when he took over. Mm-hmm. That he was trying to start it from his uncle or something. Mm-hmm. And he had a training school. He's starting up in San Mateo. Mm-hmm. And I would watch his little boy at that time. Mm-hmm. Which is his oldest son, I think.
Okay.
And while he'd go and do flyers and it helped at the training school. And like I said, I watched his little boy. Now his boy is married and kids and everything. Uh-huh. But I got to know a different side of him than the promoter.
Sure.
So I always had that little attachment to him as far as a friend goes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And he was the easiest person to talk to because, and to this day, he's like that.
Yeah.
And he hugs me and everything. And he was young himself,
Yeah.
And when he took over. And he, we used to joke about it, everybody did. Like, how do you pick all these places, to skate? Uh-huh. Because the way we drive, you can drive up north, and then you have to go right back down south again that you just left 2 days ago.
Yeah.
We said, you throw darts on the map, say, okay, we're going to go here today and go here this day.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big thing. Why this and why that way?
Yeah.
But it was, when you stop thinking about it, it's when he can get us in, at that time.
Right.
And we crisscrossed so many times.
Sure.
I said, oh, God, this store was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I know that... Well, okay, let me start. How did you get your nickname, Peanuts?
I can't think of his name right now. It doesn't ring a bell right now, but this fellow that was doing the training school, and I went to get on the track, and he looked at me, and he said, what's your name? And I told him, he goes, God, you're bigger than a peanut. And that's how it became.
But it sounds like you held your own on the track after some time.
I mean?
It sounds like you held your own on the track, though.
Yeah, and I was a little bit shorter then. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was a little bit shorter. I think I was. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of grew a little bit, but that was it. Mm-hmm. If I was maybe an inch shorter, maybe 2 inches, but for some reason I felt that I was really short. And I skated, like I said, Drew Atkinson, Drew Scott. She gave me a song and a dance when I was trying to get the form to get it filled out, permission slip and everything.
Right.
Oh, my God. And you're not going to finish school. You're going to finish school when you're not going to quit, blah, blah, going on and on and on. And I'm going, oh, yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was one of those. I tease her now.
Yeah.
I said, you know, her thing was, you make sure you finish school, because I was 15 and a half, you know?
Right.
I said, yeah, no, I was going to finish school.
So Drew really encouraged you.
track.
Yeah. So Drew really encouraged you to do that, to make sure you finished.
Oh, yeah. She was one of them. She was on that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I laugh. I used to tell her, she remembers.
Uh-huh.
And I would tease her about her. God,
Yeah.
she was terrible. You know, she was in that office. You had to give this permission slip, and you had to get it notarized and everything, you know. And like I said, I was 14 and a half. And then the following year I was 15 and a half, and that's where I was able to skate.
Right.
I started out just a little bit, and then I came back the next year, and I was able. I think we started training earlier than normal, because they didn't. That was at the Armory in San Francisco, and then when we came back, we started training at the Oakland Auditorium, and which was good because it was a good long track, and boy, you had to build up your endurance to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, in my life at that time, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Nothing. It was a great experience.
Yeah, sounds
Kids
like
nowadays
it.
don't know
Oh,
how
yeah.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Would you think that there was equality between the sexes within the sport?
There was equality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was, and not only that, and every derby skier would talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know there was no discrimination in roller derby?
What do you mean by that? Or how do you mean that?
There was no black and white.
Oh, okay.
There was nothing. In fact, nothing was ever brought up on it. We talk about this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was no discrimination on women or color.
Wow.
Never.
Okay.
Nobody ever said, I don't like that black man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that black girl. And there was nothing. And we talk about it. We said, in this sport, everybody was equal.
Mm-hmm.
Man or woman.
Yeah.
Size, whatever. Everybody was equal. Nobody ever used the N-word or anything. There was no discrimination.
Yeah,
We cannot believe it. We talk about this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing like that. We enjoyed everybody's company. In fact, we kind of stuck to when we went and traveled through the South, I never knew what discrimination really was. You know, you read about it, you hear about it.
Sure.
But I lived in the projects. We were poor. We had black and white. We all played together. My mother never said, don't play with that black person. And at that time, they called them colored.
Right.
Never. My mother was Spanish, so she felt that she was underclass because, you know, she was Spanish and she didn't have much education and she really didn't get very far. And not because she didn't know English, she did, but in them days, it was poor and, you know, she left school when she was in the 6th or 7th grade.
Wow.
Which you can't do now. But when we lived in the projects and they had what they said, the color that you come in. We go. My mother never told us there was a difference between them or anybody. So we played with everybody. We didn't know there was any difference.
Right.
They were just neighbors. And when it came to skating, we talk about this all the time when we get together. That there was no discrimination, nothing. Nothing got blamed on because this person was black. Or this person was Chinese.
Right.
Nothing. And when we traveled, like I said, we traveled south, and we had a few incidents. But the one incident that we remember, we drove into, it was in the Carolinas or up that way.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and we were at a Holiday Inn, and because we stayed mostly at Holiday Inns, and we had this restaurant we went to. And everybody was coming in, and we said, come over here, we're going to eat. At this big table. We had everybody there. Ronnie Robinson, Woodbury, myself, Tony, Lily Clay. We had all these people. We're all sitting there. And it took us a while to get served. And they wouldn't come over. actually even give us the menu. So finally Ronnie got up and went to the manager, and then we got the menus, and they were kind of like tossed on the table.
Yeah.
And the cooks in the back kept looking at us.
Huh.
And they were black, and the waitresses were white. And they really didn't want to come over and wait on us, but they had to. And needless to say, we never stayed there again.
Right.
They also didn't get a tip. And we stuck together. You know, it was
right.
like, it was, and like I said, everybody asks, but, you know, we never thought of it. Mm-hmm. Never. Everybody was treated equally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's unheard of in a lot of sports at that time period.
Right. And this you were equal, mm-hmm. man and woman or mm-hmm. color. Didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
You were all equal.
That's great.
And we had Hawaiians on there. Mm-hmm. We had Orientals. Mm-hmm. And then we even had a guy, his name was Hans Gorman. He was German.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
a lot of different ethnicities then, and race.
Yeah. I'm Spanish and German. Mm-hmm. You know, Tony was Italian. I mean, it was never brought up in anything, and we talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. We were really fortunate and lucky,
right?
You know, and nobody was held back because of it either.
Right. That's really great.
And you can tell that when you see the tapes. Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing we were fortunate and lucky.
Right. Well, would you?
And there was another person that was asking me back. I did a radio interview, and he asked me, and I said, you know what? There was never, ever, even when it came to rooming. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I roomed with Tony naturally, but prior to me, before marrying him, there was a black girl that I roomed with. Mm-hmm. I didn't look at color, right. and I love it. And my kids better not either.
Right.
They were taught not to do that.
Right.
So we were lucky for that.
Definitely.
We were really lucky.
Well, was there...
The world could be a lot better place if we didn't do that.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
I know that at different points in the roller derby, there were some women who were lesbians or men who were gay. Was there any discussion about skaters' sexuality, or was there an attitude towards people of different sexualities?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. There was nothing.
Okay. So that was included in that too.
Right. There was nothing.
Okay.
It's amazing. You had friends that they're lifetime friends. Mm-hmm. And I know that because of Tony's funeral. Mm-hmm. Didn't make any difference what you are, who you were, or what.
Right.
They were there to back you up. They were there. Same thing with Joni's funeral. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Gary Rapatello's, Joe Chumps, everybody that's passed away recently.
Right.
It's the same. People find it, and we had to go to Alvin Mallory's funeral last year. Mm-hmm. We found out the day before.
Wow.
We had to go into Oakland, which is not a good place to go into nowadays. Mm-hmm. And we went into this church, and you know, there's quite a few skaters, black and white, and a couple of others that I couldn't even tell you what they were, but they were there. Mm-hmm. And even the preacher was saying, and then they called us all up, you know. Mm-hmm. And we all said our name, and the people, you know, they didn't know who we were,
right.
But we knew what we were there for, and his folks and everything. Sure. But when we hear that it's something, we try to go out and be there for the family.
Absolutely, that's
great. Because we are. They were, as we put it now, as you grew older, mm-hmm. we had our roller derby family.
Right.
And that's why they have those reunions. Mm-hmm. And people that I didn't know, I met, you know, I hear about through the newsletter or something like that. Uh-huh. And I finally went to one of those reunions this last couple months back. Uh-huh. And it's wonderful. Mm-hmm. It is the best thing. I enjoyed myself. I can hardly wait till next year.
Yeah, that's great.
To go again.
That's great.
Yeah. And I didn't even, there's a lot of people there I don't know.
Sure. Because there's different eras and people, you know, were only on a certain team for a short amount of time.
You know, yeah, and there's some that didn't make it. I wish I had been there. Well, Judy Sawinski was one of them. She passed mm-hmm. away. Mm-hmm. And she called me and said, you better show up next year. And I said, I am. And she's gone.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, it's like, gotta go. That's all there is to it. Because you don't know what's going to be next year.
That's true.
You know, like everything else, yeah.
Right.
But it was great.
Right.
That's why, like I said, Joe Canterbury, he lives in Texas, and him and his boy come out here like once a year. So I just saw him then, and of course he comes over here and visits. And we were trying to get Margie to come out too, Margie Laszlo, and we just got to, because our family's getting smaller, and we consider it now. As you get older, it's more family than anything else.
Sure.
You know, you have more than one family. And it's great that they have these little gatherings.
Definitely.
Because you get fans go, and then you go, and everybody brings all their pictures. Oh, gosh, I saw pictures I even forgot about.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I don't know of any sport that is like this.
Right. It's a family
I mean?
like that.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some way or another, somebody's in touch with you. You know? It's unbelievable.
I didn't realize Margie Laszlo was still around. Where does she live?
Vegas.
Oh, she does? Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah, she looks the same.
Yeah.
A little bit more heavier, but looks the same. She's as dingy as ever.
Yeah.
Well, we call her dingy because sometimes she'll say things and then she goes, oh, you know, everybody gets a little dingy.
Oh, of course. That's funny. Well, the other question, we were talking about sexuality just briefly.
Yeah.
I know that there were people who identified as gay or lesbian, and I was wondering if, you said there was no discrimination, but was anyone open about that, or was it something that people just didn't talk about?
It's not that we didn't talk about it, we just kind of knew.
Right. Okay.
You know?
Right. But it wasn't like a topic of conversation necessarily.
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a topic. Oh, dismiss it. No. It, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like every day.
Right.
If you're around it, you just know.
Right.
And then you just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. No, we didn't talk about it.
Okay.
We didn't talk about it. In fact, there is some, and sometimes when I found out, I was like shocked.
Right.
But maybe, and the people, like you say, I'm sure, myself, I'm sure that maybe after a year, maybe they thought maybe I was, and not because the way I dressed, not because the way but maybe they just thought because I was a tomboy, but my thing was I fell for a couple guys, and one of them was Tony, and of course I had a couple others before I was with Tony as trained in school, boyfriends, but not as serious,
right?
And I just think that I don't know if anybody ever mistook me for one, because nobody ever hit on me, as they would say, like a guy would hit on a girl.
Right.
But I guess they kind of just knew, I mean, I was always with Tony or somebody else, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I never actually felt that, I didn't feel any different or out of place or anything.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
actually, I was kind of naive when I first traveled, because even though I kind of knew, but I didn't really know who.
Sure. Right.
So, I don't know.
Would you say that there were any stereotypes of roller derby skaters in general that you heard about or dealt with when you skated?
As far as what, being gay?
Well, were there stereotypes about, women being more rough or being gay because they played a roller derby, or just because women were playing the sport?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just know how I was. I was a regular tomboy. And I can't say that I was a stereotype. But then, I mean, I played football and with the boys. I'd run with the boys.
Right.
I drove my grandmother crazy. Girls belong with dresses on, she told me, in Spanish. And I look at her and I go, yeah, right, Right.
And
but she loved the idea that I skated because she loved that.
Right.
But she, my thing was, Sunday you were supposed to be a dress on. You go to church with a dress. No pants, no pants, no pants. She'd get so mad at me. But nobody ever, I was never hit on by another girl. And I don't know, I can't say I don't know why, but I just was...
Sure.
Maybe because they saw that I was going out. I would go out. Well, I had a boyfriend when I went in there. But, I'd go out with the parties. And there were some people I knew at the parties that were out with boys and everything. And later on, I found out differently.
Sure.
That doesn't mean... So, I don't know if it was skating that brought it out on them. Or they kind of knew before and they didn't want nobody to know.
Right.
I don't know. Okay. It was actually, my mother never said, watch out for this or watch out for that. I kind of had to kind of find out by myself, But nobody ever... The only thing I remember one time is Jeannie Porter when I went to a party in Oakland, and I was young. I was only 16 and 17. I think it was when I first skated. Not 59. I think it was 60. And I remember she said, I don't want you going... She didn't tell me why, but she says, you're to stay here tonight. You're not to go anyplace else in anybody else's room. I said, okay.
Yeah.
And I did. When it was time for I wanted to go to sleep, she says, okay, here's the key, go, and I went to sleep. I got the next day, and I went home. But I never questioned her, why do you want me to stay in here?
Right.
Because she didn't want me to end up in a room with somebody else.
Right, sure, just kind of sheltering you.
She was kind of watching out for me, which I didn't know till later on.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
But I was already, I like my men.
Right.
Sure. I like having a boyfriend.
Sure. Well, you were talking too about like your grandmother saying, girls are supposed to wear dresses and be more traditional.
Yeah.
But did a lot of the skaters go out of their way to heighten their femininity or anything like that?
Well, we had to dress up every time we skated, except for out of town. So when you went to Oakland or San Francisco, you had to get dressed up, heels and all, and everybody did. Boys had to wear slacks. Actually, I don't remember them wearing jeans. It was always slacks. And the shirt and, dress shoes and everything. And that was I'd say the first couple of years.
And so
in fact, when we went to the Oakland Coliseum, you had to be really dressed. When the Keys-R was the only time it was casual, because it was TV. And it was just a small little place. And that was the only place that they said Sunday was okay to come in shorts or whatever the weather was, And because you had a ramp, you had to walk up, and you can't walk up a ramp with them heels. I'm sorry. And as it is, I couldn't walk with the heels if my life depended on it, and I had to wear them.
Right.
And it drove me crazy, but my feet hurt me so bad.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, no, they were really bad. My feet, because I'd be out almost barefooted, especially in the summertime, because we started like in March or April,
right.
and I'd be in sandals, but my feet, to get them in a shoe, oh God, I couldn't get them in a shoe.
Yeah.
So then it kind of got a little laxy-daisy, like,
Yeah, like later
kind of capri pants and stuff like that, But when it came to Oakland or San Francisco Cow Power, the Oakland Coliseum, and the San Francisco and Oakland Auditorium, you had to get dressed up.
Okay.
Their Fridays and Saturday nights, you had to get dressed up.
And so for girls, was that like a dress and like your hair and makeup and stuff? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Hair, the makeup, the outfit, whatever you had on.
Okay.
And it wasn't until maybe the 80s, and they kind of cooled on that. You can come dressed up, but maybe a nice pair of slacks or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one question I meant to ask, I know you said you got along really well with Jerry Seltzer and stuff, but did you or Tony ever skate for any outlaw units?
When he was in the service in Texas.
Okay, because you had to leave the roller derby area?
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
okay.
We skated during that time. That was the only time. There wasn't any other time.
Okay.
There was a time, but we didn't. We stayed with Jerry. There was an organization, I think, it came from South, and I think Cavella went, and Ennis Jensen went, and and a few, they called it the Shamrocks. They were called Shamrocks, Oakland Shamrocks.
Okay.
They were skating up here, and we were skating.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't last very long because the people were kind of, I mean, you've been in this area for 20-something years,
Yeah.
And they supported them, but then again, after a while, and then some of the skaters had left to go over there because they offer more money.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony and I were offered, but, we talked to Jerry about it. We were faithful to him. We just didn't want to do it.
Right.
We wanted to stay where we were happy where we were at.
Mm-hmm.
And he treated us good, and I wasn't going to turn my back on him.
Sure.
Because of it.
Well, what type of
there was
living?
times-
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because there was times, that Jerry had to do us some favors,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like a payback
Right.
type thing.
Right.
He stuck behind us and did what he did for us,
Mhm.
like when Tony was in the service and things like that.
Mhm.
And then when we came back, when Derby wasn't here, Tony had gotten a job and I got a job.
Okay.
And we were both working, and he wanted us to go. And we skated here, but we said we can't travel because we had a job.
Right.
And so he flew us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he flew us like when we had to go to Reno.
Uh-huh.
And there's a couple places we didn't go if we couldn't make it from our job. He'd fly us there.
Okay.
And I hate to fly.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed where we were, and then once that we knew that we were going to be back skating, because we weren't sure what we were going to do,
Mm-hmm.
because we had Dina and everything, so we decided to go back, and Jerry was there. He always was there for us.
Yeah.
I can always say that.
Right.
That's why I love the man to death.
Yeah. And so when Derby ended in 73, did you guys continue skating with other units or like with roller games, or did you retire?
Tony did.
Tony.
Remember, I was pregnant.
Oh, okay. So Tony continued skating.
He skated, and then I was pregnant when I was pregnant again with the
Okay.
twins.
Okay.
So when Mark and Denise and when they were older, yes, we did skate because they were little. But I'm trying to remember if it was Jerry or there was this other gentleman. His name was David Lichtschultz.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had something to do with Jerry. He was able to use the name or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of.
Yeah.
Because I know we took the kids to the game. For some reason, I thought we had Jerry Silcher still.
Okay.
I don't remember. After
Yeah.
a while,
Yeah, it
let
gets
me
hard.
tell you,
Yeah.
the mind goes.
Sure.
But I know we skated Keysar, and it might have been this gentleman, David Lichtschultz, and I think Jerry might have still had something to do with it.
Okay.
I'm really, behind the scenes type
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
Because he used a lot of tapes that were Jerry's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was still Jerry, but we did skate. And I know my kids were like 2 or 3 years old,
Okay.
maybe even 4,
Okay.
and they were still going to the game.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that part I do know.
Well, when you were still skating with Jerry, what type of living did you earn as a skater?
Earn?
Yeah, I mean, well, just, was it enough for you and Tony to live on? I mean, did you have to
we
get other
got,
jobs?
No. The only reason why we stayed with our job to make sure was for security.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
He worked for Sears,
Okay.
and I was a housewife.
Mhm.
I stayed with the kids.
Mhm.
And we both, the other time that we both worked was that was before the twins, Denise, Mark and Denise, we worked at a record company. And that's where, at that time, remember they used to sell LPs in stores?
Mhm.
Like Payless and Music
Sure.
Box and all that kind of stuff. And we were the distributor.
Okay.
And we said we wouldn't leave our job unless we had a certain amount of money because we were doing pretty good there.
Mhm.
And we loved the job. And, we figured, somewhere along the line you can't continually, leave town and leave your child behind.
Right.
So we said, this is where we're at. And, in fact, they called us and they wanted us to skate. I think we missed one season, and then, hang on, I hear the phone ringing. Is that? I'll call her. So what they did was we stayed there until we knew we were secure and that we got what we wanted before we left again on the road.
Okay.
And that's when Dina would stay with my mother-in-law. She'd come in and out with us.
Sure.
And then when she started school, it was too hard.
Yeah, that would be difficult. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so we kind of just skated here in the area.
Okay.
We didn't travel.
And then
If
when
it was going to be travel, it was like maybe something like maybe Monterey.
Yeah.
You know, Stockton, Sacramento, that type. But nothing. If it was going to be something overnight, it would be during the summertime.
Yeah. Okay. When and why did you retire from roller derby officially, or from skating?
Well, Jerry's Seltzer closed. Actually, it was a shock to everybody, but there was trouble with transportation as far as gas and everything was starting to go up. You know, because he used to rent cars and we'd be driving there. If we flew into, he rented cars for, like, say, the Chicago area, and then, you know, and then the New York area, and then the South area. And when he had all these teams going, well, you'd fly from Chicago to New York, and you pick up the cars there. That got whoever was driving the last part, you'd pick up the cars there, and you'd be driving Wisconsin to St. Louis, you know, that way, and sometimes down to Texas.
Okay.
And then back up again. And then those cars stayed there for the next team to come in. And then we'd fly to New York area, and then we'd skate, and then we had cars there to drive back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's how that ended up, because before we used to take our cars and get the gas money.
Right.
But then I guess he felt it was just better that way, and it was until the gas situation. And it was a fuel problem, and there was all kinds of stuff. You know, the airlines were costing more. Everybody decided to get on the bandwagon, I guess, and charge more for, well, now look at it now.
Yeah, so it just got difficult financially.
Oh, yeah, it was really difficult, I would say, for him. Because even if we brought our own cars, the gas is still going to cost the same, you know?
Right.
As much for him.
Right, either way.
It was really nice because the way he had it set up, that when the team came out, you know, that team would be able to have the cars to drive all over. So you always had cars, and you didn't have to worry about it.
Sure.
It was all paid for.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then when he got back here, I kind of don't. We were shocked when it happened.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah, we were shocked. You know, we figured back here we'd at least skate, and other people tried. You know, but there was just something. And the one guy that really helped, that we skated a couple of years with, and the only place, like I said, we didn't travel too far except for Reno. And he had to fly us in because we said we couldn't make it.
Right.
And with that David Lipschultz.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that name before. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Jerry Seltzer's order.
Okay.
He was a sweetheart. He really was. And he tried, but he used to do a lot of Bill Graham things, concerts. But it was hard because, you know, like, he's trying to get something started, and everybody's demanding all this money.
Right.
And we did it per game, but he had a limit, and they didn't care. They felt, this is not Jerry Seltzer. He's not going to be able to pay you.
Right.
I mean, it's something he wanted to get started, and he was trying to be fair, but he couldn't do it. He was renting the track and the buildings and promoting, and he wanted the money, you know?
Right.
And he just went back to doing what he does best, and promoting music and doing all that stuff. Okay. So he's about the only one. Every now and then there was somebody who was a fly-by-nighter type thing.
Right.
And
but it never lasted all that much.
Well, the one time we said, oh, yeah, we'll skate. And we kind of got paid in the dark, and then what we got paid, I said, oh, okay, then we're not coming back.
Yeah, that's not worth it.
No, that's not worth that. And we didn't. We didn't. We just, just stopped. There was nothing else you could do. Yeah. It was never going to be the same.
Right.
Because everybody that's trying to do it now, not everybody, there's only one guy, he wants to do, all he's looking for is to fill his pocket. He's not thinking about anything else.
Right.
And that's how I feel.
Okay.
So, no, it's not going to happen. I know for a fact because my daughter was skating.
Oh.
And to hear what she's getting paid and to do skate,
Yeah.
I said, he should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
He really should.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, no, not even.
Mm-hmm.
Not even. I said, he must think this was 1959. I said, no.
Yeah, no.
Not going to work.
Yeah, not for that pay.
Yeah. And where he puts them, and and you don't have people. You can't take somebody that skated on the track that day and stick them in a uniform.
Right. They need training.
Because that's right. You need training, and he thinks, okay, we're going to have the track up for a week and train, and then okay, I want you to skate. I want you to skate. You just don't do that.
Right.
You just don't do that. And some of those people, they don't even know how the game goes.
Right.
They don't know how to play the game, and then they have them put them out there. They don't know what's going on, and that's how they get hurt. Mm-hmm. You know, then you got more bills.
Absolutely.
So no, you actually you need a regular training school. Mm-hmm. You need I can't think of the word. Oh God, it slips my mind the word, but it's like it's in every all the time. You need that all the time. You can't say okay, what month are we in right now? Come October, we're going to have a game.
Right.
Okay, they set up the track that day, and you're training.
Right. You need like practice and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But this guy, he thinks he can do that. Okay? Mm-hmm. No, you people are idiots. That's why Dina doesn't skate with him no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, she was doing it. She said, it's extra money, but it isn't worth it.
Sure.
It isn't.
Sure.
And it's a shame because it hurts us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it does. It really does. It hurts.
Sure.
But what are you going to do?
Yeah. Definitely. Well, what's the most important thing you wish people today knew about roller derby when you played?
What's the question now? What's the most important?
Yeah, or what, I mean, I feel like a lot of people today don't know that much about the sport in the 50s and 60s. You know, what is the thing you wish people knew?
I wish that I think they do know, but it's the people that are my age that know, because where I work, even, heck, I don't even have to work. I can be in Walmart. Somebody will recognize me.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
From skating.
Uh-huh.
They'll walk in and they go, I know you. Well, you and I have worked with Longs for umpteen years. That a lot of people know me from Longs. And I'll be in Walmart. I've gone down to L.A. at the same time. I've been up in, up north here. It's a little town, Jamestown. And all of a sudden somebody point and they go, I know you. So I think they know me from working down here.
Right.
And I go, yeah, I know. I work at Longs. At that time it was Longs. And they go, no, you used to skate. I said, holy cow.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor down the street that came by, and he honked at me, and I paid no attention. And one day we were walking the dog, and he came out, and I saw where he lived. And he goes, hey, how are you? Fine. And I go, I always honks. He goes, yeah. He said, he used to love to watch you skate. And boom. And I didn't know. I thought it because he was a neighbor. And I could be nice for the way he did. But I could walk into the store up the street where I used to work, and I'll walk into customers that knew me from there. Right. But also knew that I skated.
Right.
And in fact, I was at the store that I transferred to, and I was working one day, and all of a sudden somebody said, I know you. I said, yeah, I used to work at the street. He goes, no. He said, you used to skate. And he knew
okay.
He was at the training school. And he remembers me coming in there and skating with Tony and bringing my oldest daughter. She used to sit in there and play in the room like she was typing on the typewriter. Bobby was in there. And she'd watch her while we go out and train. And he used to go there. So, but I do have people that live in this neighborhood. Sometimes they'll walk by, and I haven't seen them for a while, but they know me from skating.
Right.
All the time, like I said, thought they were neighbors. And they come driving by and, hey, how are you? And one guy would stop and say, hey, you don't skate no more. And I go, no. In fact, when we moved into this house, this is a funny story. We moved into this house, and we lived around the corner in a condo. And then we moved to the other side of Fremont because we had too many kids. It was a 3-bedroom, but all of a sudden we ended up with 4 kids.
Right.
So we moved to a 4-bedroom. And then we hated the other side. So Tony says, he went out one day and he comes back and says, Carol, it's on the house, which is the house we live in now. And it was the house I wanted to get from the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And so he says, I found it. It's right around the corner. And so we came and looked at it. I go, oh, you got to have this house. Okay, we get the house. The day we're moving in, my next-door neighbor to the left of me, I hear like that, and I'm going, what the heck? And I see a hand come out, and it's waving me like, come here. So I go up to the door, and Sandy Dunn.
Oh, wow.
My next-door neighbor.
Small world, I guess.
Small world. I said, holy cow. And she starts laughing. And she wasn't there. She moved out within about a year.
Yeah.
But it was a coincidence that my next-door neighbor is Sandy Dunn.
Yeah.
And I said, holy cow. You just never know who your neighbors is.
No, you don't.
And then I have the Pachecos, and he used to skate. They lived down the street on the other side. And I ran into Chris Keenan, and he skated. He lives on the other side of Fremont. There's Lydia Clay moved in a few doors from us before. So we had kind of a little circle of skaters that were out there.
Yeah, sounds like it. A little derby community there.
Yeah. So, because Fremont's really, really, it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's really nice. So, and we love it, so that's where we say it. But it's a coincidence how some things, and the funny, like I talk about coincidence, when I lived by the Cow Palace, I used to go over there for everything, so naturally I saw the Grand Nationals. I was there and no matter what was at the Cow Palace, my brother and the whole gang we'd go to the Grand Nationals, and I watched these kids take care of horses, the Budweiser team. And, oh my God! I'm going. Oh, I loved horses. I wanted a horse so bad, but we did have horses for my kids. Later on, we did have horses.
Oh, that's neat.
So, yeah, because Fremont was sort of country. I mean, we had horses right down the street. Used to bring them home at lunchtime. When I say lunchtime, my daughter used to come over and have lunch and to go back.
Yeah.
So, I ran into this lady, and little did I know this lady who is my best friend here. I ran into her as I took up dancing, country dancing. Tony and I love to go country dancing. So they went country dancing and everything, and Tony had already passed away. And but I continued after a while and did that. And this lady that I met, it was such a small world that we live in, because her husband was one of the boys, and she was the girl that did and cleaned the Budweisers horses that we were.
That you were
and
around.
then, right, and their best friend was the doctor for roller derby. Only they didn't know that, so he took care of a lot of skaters. And it's such a small world because she lived down the corner where they tore down the houses, and she moved away from where we lived. And I'm saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. And we're best friends now.
Right.
And so it was funny what a small world it is. And then the smallest world also is across the street from me, down the street. I used to see this girl come out. Well, it's on the corner, it's like 4 houses away. But I look at that lady, and I'm going, she looks so familiar. And she always waved to me. And then one day she came in the store, and she said she was from San Francisco. I said, you look so familiar. And she goes, well, I'm a San Francisco girl. And she goes, yeah, I know you skated too. And it turns out we went to the same grammar school together. She asked me, what school did you go? I said, well, I went to Hillcrest, and her eyes just lit up. She went to Hillcrest. And I said, oh my God. But she knew me from skating. She recognized us from skating. And you never know. It's a small world.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there goes my quiet. Okay. My
What?
dogs hate better than anything else.
Yeah. Well, I just have a couple more questions because I know we've been talking for a long time today.
Yeah.
But just one more thing. I know that the sport really evolved throughout the years. You know, they'd add different rules and different things and different players. But when you played in the late 50s and then through the 60s, did you consider yourself to be participating in a legitimate sport, or how did you characterize the Derby?
I took it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was, for me, the real thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, you got people out there that love to get the crowd all riled up.
Right.
But I took it seriously.
Okay.
You know, I mean, when I went out there, it was to try and win. Although the boys are the ones that you have to worry about. They're the ones that played the last period.
Yeah.
Unless we had an overtime. But it's, you know, there was things there that you could say that people would do just to get the crowd riled up.
Sure.
But as far as us, we never knew. You know, the boys were the last one to play the period. Nobody ever came and said, "Oh, we're going to win tonight."
Right.
You just never knew. The boys were the ones that had the last say so as who was going to do what and go out there and win the game.
Right.
I you know, it was a sport, and those girls skated the same rules as them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when it comes to who's going to win or whatever, we never knew.
Right.
And I can always say, I can honestly say that we never knew.
Right. So you went
So
out to compete as an athlete every night.
As an athlete, yeah.
Okay.
And you know, there is too many things that happen, like an anger.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up in their dressing room with a fight and 20 stitches in my head a week before I got married. I mean,
yeah.
They can't say, and that was not phony. They was real.
Yeah, people really would get
real.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was things that from the track went out into the dressing room. I mean, sometimes, Tony had the biggest fight going with the referee. Remember, with the referee Thanksgiving Day.
Wow.
And Tony didn't get the stitches. He got a little black eye, but that's only because of how it happened. But that's even made Tony madder.
Oh, I bet.
And one thing you don't do is get a short little Italian man.
That seems like a bad idea.
Telling you. Well, and I mean, it was Bob Seavers who was the referee, and he didn't like the way he talked to me. And it was the last time he apologized for it. But I don't think anybody saw the little madman, what he did to Bobby Seavers.
Yeah.
He apologized later. He said, I shouldn't have lost my temper, but then they both apologized. They became the best friend. And when Tony was sick, it was Bobby Sears that was here for him.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, we kind of, there are some people that, to this day, that I don't even bother with. You know, I had my differences with them.
Sure.
And on and off the track. And I'd go out there and do what I had to do, because it was also a job.
Sure.
And that's how I looked at it. It was a job, and I had to do it. And I did it. And whether they liked it or not, this is what I was paid to do.
Sure.
So, you know, like I said, some of them left off the track. Big fights.
Right.
There was a big fight when I was a new kid, and it was Ann Cavallo and Tuffy Bassoon. I'm sure you heard of her.
Oh, yeah.
Ann Cavallo, like I said, I was a new kid. I was just coming down the stairs, and she was getting ready to go in the shower, and I don't know what she did. She grabbed a coat, and they were in the hallway fighting.
Oh, wow.
You know, with nothing else but a coat. And I did sometimes that didn't even that didn't stop them. The guys were there, and they were just looking, and they finally broke it up. But yeah, wow. I've seen a lot of fights that were ended up in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like I said, even with me, it was one. So it happens, you know.
Right.
It just does.
Right.
And if you had a problem with somebody on your own team, that was, you had to be professional. And I say that for the simple reason, there's things that I I did not get along with Joan Weston as good as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried on my part.
Mm-hmm.
But I had bad vibe from her from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt what she was trying to do to me. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was 1959. I was a new kid. I was there to skate and whatever.
Right.
And she tried to hurt me really bad. And Roberta Mitchell was there. Mm-hmm. And they took me to the dressing room because I hit my head really hard and everything.
Yeah.
And Roberta's thing was, that's somebody new.
Yeah.
And they says, hey, there's no reason to go after her. She didn't do anything to you.
Right.
So Roberta came in, and her and Joni went at it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And Roberta was so mad she was crying. And she says, don't you ever lay a hand on the new... And look at the size of her compared to you.
Yeah.
And so those things happen. There's more in the dressing room that happens even afterwards.
Sure.
That people don't know about it. Like I said, that was one thing. Roberta Mitchell, to this day, we talk about it, and I love that woman. Mm-hmm. You know, now I wouldn't stand for it. Mm-hmm. You know, but I only been skating a couple of weeks when that happened.
Right.
I didn't, you know.
You're still a teenager.
I'm there doing what I'm supposed to do. Be in the pack. I was just a new kid, and she came after me like I was like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. And I heard of other things, too. So, but I wasn't there at that time. Right. I mean, it was before my time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess there was quite a few other things, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happened. So I only know what has happened. You know, there was I think it was the time Tony snapped his ankle. He went after somebody. I can't remember right now offhand.
Yeah.
But I know the worst fight that I've ever seen was the one after the referee.
With Tony?
And because the way he manhandled me, as he put it. Boy, that was Bobby Fevers. And but I've seen worse things than that too. But I mean, this is just with Tony and I.
Right.
Like I said, I've seen Charlie and what's his name, Patel. Mm-hmm. And they just all of a sudden you hear this banging and they're fighting. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what they're fighting about.
Right.
But it's like, you know, the skaters try to stop it, you know, but it's like, yeah. It's strange how sometimes, you know, and then they kind of stay away. You know, with me and Joni, we skated very well together, but Joni and I weren't friends.
Right. I mean, it's hard to be friends with everybody.
Well, no, I mean, we were on the same team.
Yeah.
And because, and the only reason why is because she was, the main reason why is because she really tried to talk Tony out of marrying me. And I think it really, you know, it was none of her business.
Right.
You know, later on, I felt bad, you know, because I talked to her and things like that later, but I could never have the closeness with her because I knew deep down inside she didn't want Tony to marry me, and I didn't do anything, you know.
Right.
But actually, it wasn't her choice; it was his choice, you know.
Right.
But anyway, that's mainly the one person. And I used to say before, I really did like her, but you know what? You get to a point where it's not nice to dislike people, you know. If you don't want to be bothered with them, that's fine. And I was okay with her. I felt bad, you know. Later in life, you kind of get to that age where, you know, it's not nice to be mad at people for the rest of your life.
Yeah, or it was so long ago, you kind of you let go of it.
People are young, they do stupid things, and I'm sure I've done a lot of stupid things, but no, it was over with. It was done. You know, it's like when we saw each other, we talked, we laughed, and everything. You know, and we became friends. So.
Sure. Okay.
Before she passed away, so I was happy for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you know, you do so much in your life together. You're so close, you know, and you're with each other for so long, like 5-6 months at a time, and then afterwards, if you're home team, you come back and you're like 9 months out of the year with the same people. You know, after a while, you got to let it go.
Absolutely.
And you kind of do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the majority of my questions for today. I appreciate you talking to me for so long. I know we talked a lot today.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but the only other thing I would want to know is, it's going to take me a little while to type up the notes from the interview.
No problem.
But I'll send you a copy of it as soon as I do, and then I'll send you a consent form to sign here tomorrow. So hopefully that'll be there shortly. And then if it's okay with you, if I think of anything else, would it be okay if I emailed or gave you another call?
Yeah, email. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm usually here in the morning.
Okay.
In the morning, I'm up because I got to read my paper in the morning.
Well, of course.
No. I get mad when I don't have my paper on my porch.
Yes, I understand.
No, that's just my normal routine is to be here in the morning, read my paper, and go out and, I usually don't leave the house before 10.
Okay, great.
So, no problem. If you're going to send me an email or call me and say, hey, it's okay if I call you tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I have to do, I got to, is have my surgery and I don't have that much to do until I go to the doctor next, which I don't even know when.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sometime in July. And then I got, I'm suing the company, so I got depositions too.
Yeah,
they try to say you don't do it at work. They're going to try to say I did it skating,
Yeah.
And the lawyer saying, come on, she stopped a long time ago.
Yeah,
But
seriously.
they do. They give you the third degree.
Of course, so.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll be in touch, if I think of anything else, or if you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me, but thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, have a great day, Carol.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.